Today we're making Icebox Pina Colada Pie. This pie combines the wonderful flavors of pineapple and coconut into a heavenly icebox pie. We start out making our pie crust using pecan sandies. And if you don't like pecans, you can use any sort of shortbread. You're going to need 2 cups of cookie crumbs, which is about 16 of these cookies. So I have 2 cups of crushed cookies. To this, I'm adding 1 cup of sweetened flaked coconut. And we're adding 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of melted butter. So toss your cookie crumbs, coconut, and your butter. We're making our cookie crust in a 9-inch pie dish, and you're going to go ahead and grease the bottom and the sides. Little tip, I always save my butter sleeves and fold them over and throw them in the freezer, and then when I'm ready to make a pie, I just take them out that morning, lay them in my pie plate, and I'm ready to grease it. Be sure to break up any clumps of coconut. And even though this doesn't seem like a lot of butter, there's a lot of butter in that cookie. So if you use something other than the pecan sandies, you may want to add up to 6 tablespoons of melted butter. And we are going to press this mixture on the bottom as well as up the sides. Now that's a lot of pie crust. It's going to be so good. Use your measuring cup or a little bowl like I'm using. So I use my thumb on the top, pressing down as I'm pressing down and inward with this little bowl. This mixture seems a bit crumbly, but just keep pressing it. This takes a few more turns than a regular graham cracker crust, which I have a link at the top of the video for my perfect graham cracker crust. I come around and gather up these crumbs and throw them back in the bottom. Just make sure your bottom is covered well. If you need to, pull some away from the sides with a flexible spatula. Press it into the center. This is going into a 350-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes until it's light golden brown, and you will smell it. Yum. This is going on a wire rack to completely cool. For our next step, we're making a pineapple filling, and we're going to make this on the stovetop. We're adding 1 8-ounce can of crushed pineapple, including the juice. We're adding 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. Now we're going to stir this over medium-high heat until it comes to a boil. This is starting to bubble. Turn the heat down just a notch to medium and just stir about a minute or until it thickens. Mine thickened up in about 35 or 40 seconds. So that's the thickness, and you'll feel it with the spoon. So remove it from the heat. We are going to let this cool. Now that our crust is cooling and our pineapple filling is cooling, we're going to make a cream cheese mixture for the top layer of our pie. We're going to use 1 block or 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. We're going to use 1 cup of cream of coconut. We're also going to use another 1/2 cup of our cream of coconut to make our whipped topping. Go ahead and measure out 1 cup, which is going into this layer, and refrigerate another 1/2 cup for our whipped topping. And the rest of our cream of coconut, low speed. And now we're going to add 2 eggs, 1 at a time, beating between each one. And once you see everything has taken on that light yellow color, this is ready, so don't overbeat it. Now we're going to assemble our pie. Pineapple mixture goes on first. I don't know what's better, a pina colada or a pina colada pie, but I can tell you this is good.
like to get that very evenly smoothed down in there. Now we just pour on our cream cheese and cream of coconut mixture, sort of like a cheesecake. And that's going to go to the top. If you have a little bit left over, you could bake it in a ramekin, or you could bake it in one of those small graham cracker crusts. I think that's what I'm going to do. I recommend placing this on a baking sheet. This is going into a 350-degree oven for 38 to 42 minutes, and we'll be back. Now this pie has cooked for 38 minutes and it's done. It puffs up around the outside edges. The center will be just a little wobbly. It's going to be a little jiggly in the middle, so just don't overcook it. It's just like a cheesecake. Let's let this cool, and it will continue to cook in the center.
So I've let this sit on a cooling rack, and it's now completely cool. So now you're going to want to cover this very tightly with cling wrap. Press that cling wrap down on top of the pie filling, and then refrigerate this for a minimum of 4 hours until it's completely cold. Next, we're going to make some whipped topping using 1 cup of heavy whipping cream and the 1/2 cup of cream of coconut that we reserved earlier. If you make your own whipped cream topping, you know that after a day that it starts becoming very weepy and it loses its oomph. To stabilize it and help it maintain its structure, add about a teaspoon of unflavored gelatin. If you don't have unflavored gelatin on hand, you can always use vanilla gelatin. We're going to beat the whipping cream just until it's foamy. So I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of coconut extract, which is optional. This really ramps up the coconut flavor. We're going to use our hand mixer and beat this until it's foamy. So I beat this on medium-low speed for about 30 seconds. And now I'm adding 1/2 cup of cream of coconut.
Go ahead and use your hand mixer on medium speed for about 20 or 30 seconds and then move it up to high speed. Now this is after about a minute, and we have what's called soft peaks, where the peak comes up and then it falls back over onto itself. I'm making this pie to take to a party. What I'm going to do is use some non-flavored gelatin. That gelatin, see, gives it a little structure. So that's the texture I want. This pie is just delicious.
Now this pie is a beauty. I've garnished it with some toasted coconut. You could garnish it with a couple of slices of pineapple, some pineapple mint, some coconut curls that have been toasted. Just leave it plain.